think we've got a good number of people on the line here, so we're gonna slowly but surely kick it off here. Um, Welcome to our webinar today, Efficiency Meets Excellence. We're gonna chat about how Operto and HostGPO helps hosts and property managers really tighten up their operations in a few different ways. We have Kit and Alicia from HostGPO, myself, Axel from Operto. I've been with Operto for about 7 years. We deal with all sorts of fun things around blocks and guest experience and operations and all sorts of things we'll tell you about in a little bit. I do solutions engineering, which means that I get to look at people's tech stacks, figure out what they need and what we can offer them that fits nicely with their current stack. So there's no redundancy and nothing is gonna overlap with each other and not play nicely together. So I get to nerd out and talk to people all day, which is really fun. That's both worlds. Kit, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm Kit Steen. I'm the head of growth for HostGPO. And HostGPO is a group purchasing organization that is limited just to property management. So if you are a homeowner managing your own property or a property manager managing multiple properties, we supply all your FF&E and OS&E. And before I kick it over to Alicia, just a quick note about us as a company. The entire company is made up of people like you. So we all have a tremendous amount of experience in figuring out what do we need to purchase, what do we need to replace goods with, so furniture, all the way down to cleaning supplies. And so I'll kick it over now to Alicia, who's way more experienced than I am at this.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Berger. I am HostGPO's strategic account manager. I've been here for about 2.5 years, and my background is in short-term rental procurement. So love putting together OS&E and FF&E curated packages for your business. And I'm typically working with our larger clients, so like large property management companies, boutique hotels, just those companies with a little bit more complex buying needs.
And for those uninitiated, OS&Es and FF, another word,
Your
are what?
operating supplies, so your locks, and your furniture and decor packages.
Very good. I hope I'm not the only one who didn't know that, but it's possible. Okay, welcome to the show today. Some housekeeping notes. We will be recording and sending out this session, so you don't have to take too many notes. Take some. And also questions are more than welcome. We will have about 30 minutes of content today, and then from there on, we'll just chat if there's, yeah, exactly, FFP. This is not just me. So we'll have some time for questions asked. So just throw them into the chat. If we see them and want to chat about them right away, we'll bring them up. Otherwise, we will come back to them at the end. It sounds like OS&E are things we're gonna come back to. So we'll get there in due course. All right. What are we going to talk about today? This is our agenda for the day. We are going to talk about strategies to streamline procurement. That's where FF and E and P and OS and E, those ones come in. Clarify that once and for all. Figure out some automation techniques to eliminate the operational friction both on procurement and your daily operations. And then we're going to kind of target that a little bit more specifically into things like smart locks and technology, and making sure that we have tools and software in place to make the most out of the equipment that you have. And then finally, we are here with some great deals today. HostGPO enables some fantastic pricing for its members, so we're going to talk about some specific attendee-only pricing and deals that's on the table here. All right. We're going to jump right in, and I will hand it over to Kit, I think, to just tell us a little bit about HostGPO and Operto's work together.
Absolutely. So what I love about this relationship is, HostGPO, we are available, as a company to purchase all different types of products from. But Operto, it brings just like this whole new side of the business to us in the software that powers the different locks and systems that you're using to gain access. And we get this question all the time. So it's really nice that through HostGPO and Operto, you'll get this exclusive access and market pricing on all of your smart lock hardware and the software that powers it. So if you need to make that decision to replace or upgrade to smart locks, you'll visit the HostGPO portal to access that, and you'll contact your team Operto to automate your access. So what that means is you're bringing really frictionless check-in for your guests, owners, and staff, and you're getting locks at a price that you can't get elsewhere.
That sounds pretty promising. I like the sound of that. All right. And specifically, is there anything in here?
Yeah, so what I really love about HostGPO is it's a really easy to shop platform. So locks are right there on our portal and you can go in and choose, and we'll actually show you some photos a little bit later. But it's easy to shop for the locks that you want to have. And we help curate that to which locks are the easiest to use. If you're looking for something specific, Alicia and our team, they're very qualified to answer those questions, along with certainly the team at Operto as well. What are the best locks to use? And then you're receiving premium member support. So not just through Operto, but through HostGPO, we have a member services team that will assist you. And then we also have dedicated customer service with our different lock vendors as well. And so we'll go into a little bit more detail there once we introduce the locks. And you also finally have very experienced hosts assisting you. So everyone in our company has some sort of experience in the vacation rental industry, and I think probably collectively with the entire company, there's a little over 200 years experience there with all the employees. So lots of knowledge and willing to help you with anything that you need.
Right, and at all sorts of different scales too, right? From the biggest vacation rental companies in the world down to the single unit operators, you've got it all, right?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. What's, other than locks aside, what's your top selling category of products?
Well, that depends on which category you're looking at. So Alicia has a tremendous amount of experience in our furniture line. So I'm going to kick this over to Alicia.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, especially for our property management companies, our linens are huge. We have a great exclusive partnership with Standard Textile. We have a HostGPO branded Helix Hospitality mattress, probably best-selling item through us. And then for furniture, we have Crate and Barrel, Article, Tov, Walker Edison. So a wide range of both price point, and then different styles as well.
Stylish furniture and a great bed. That's pretty essential. Yeah, key stuff. All right, thank you. Okay, we're gonna hop over to Operto for a second here and talk about what we do. We make sure that you get a 5-star review through providing guest excellence and operational excellence throughout the full journey. Now, specifically, you'll see that there is a little grayed out booking on the left-hand side of the screen there. We don't deal with the booking at all, but we are the engine that powers the post-booking experience. So you've got a PMS in place to do everything around your listings and channel distribution and getting the booking in, taking payment, all those sorts of things. And it's really from that point on, once the booking lands in the PMS, that we kick in and we make sure that everything post-booking goes really smoothly. So that goes from making sure that the guest has all the information they need pre-arrival, making sure that the unit is set up and ready to receive them, making sure that they have a really smooth check-in. They know which code they're going to use in the door. They get the temperature set to a nice, comfortable level on the thermostat. In stay, they get everything they need. They can request services and upsells, all those sorts of things, read about the property and learn more about its features and amenities. And then all the way through to checkout, making sure that they know how they're going to leave the property. And of course, once they do, make sure that we get our housekeepers in to actually turn over the unit and get it ready for the next stay, including things like scheduled and one-off maintenance needs as well. Just me really taking care of everything to do with that turnover and preventive maintenance as well. Okay. It may not be clear for the rest of this presentation, by the way, we are exclusively a software company. We don't make any hardware. So when we talk about Operto locks in a little bit, they are locks that are compatible with the Operto, and we have hundreds that are compatible. But we always recommend the best ones to use. So don't think, oh, you call us up and we'll send you a list of 300 locks you need for your. We'll help you. We will guide you on the way. That's what we're here for today. We're a software company, but we automate all these processes. Okay. All right. We got a little poll here for you. Kit, I think that's you again.
Yes. So we want to find out from you, what is your preferred lock? What is your primary access method? Is it a lockbox where you have to actually push the buttons and pull the key out? Is it not automated keypad lock like I have in my home, where you just put the batteries in it and you push in a code and you can get in and out? Maybe you have office key pickup in-person meetings where you meet them at the house, or you're using smart locks. So let's take just a moment. Let's go ahead and fill out this poll very quickly. And you tell us, what are you using?
Guessing this is going to be very market dependent, but we got a good content.
It is 86% smart locks and 14% lock boxes. Wow, that's fantastic. It was 0% for all of the other options there. Very interesting. Well, if it is smart locks, you're in the right place. And if you're using lock boxes, we're going to help you convert to smart locks through this.
No.
All right.
As I said, I'm calling in from Europe, and if we had, it's 7 p.m. here, I don't think we have a whole lot of people on working hours anymore. But if we did, I think we would see a much higher portion of in-person meetings, which is still so common here, which is to me still kind of bizarre. But you know,
yeah, it's very common in some of the mountain regions for in-person meetings and in some of the really traditional market areas. But looks like we're all about smart locks here, which is fantastic. Okay, poll number 2 before we move on. What is your biggest challenge when shopping for locks? A, finding reliable products. Maybe it's balancing price with quality, or possibly poor customer support, which we know can happen. Warranty options, and then the ever-present Wi-Fi connection. What is your biggest challenge? I'll just give you another moment to fill out this poll. Okay, oh, this is interesting. So we don't have any real significant challenges with Wi-Fi connection here, but it looks like poor customer support is the #1 challenge, followed by, it looks like, warranty options, balancing price with quality, and finding reliable products. So Alicia, you've been doing some homework on the different locks that we offer. Can you talk to us about warranty coverage on locks?
Yes. So through HostGPO, you are not out here on your own trying to figure out how to fix or find a warranty issue should something break later on. We're here to help. So with our Schlage partnership, for example, they have a 3-year warranty, and this is a no questions asked replacement. So normally when purchasing Schlage product or through like a third party through Amazon, you may not get that warranty. It may not be upheld. And a lot of the times they actually ask you to take the lock off the door, send it back in for them to repair it, and then they'll send it back to you. No one wants to do that. They will just send you a replacement. So big benefit there.
There's some additional benefits, I think, with Schlage that I'm really impressed with. The return policy is 30 days with approval from customer service. And they have free shipping. They ship all over the contiguous United States, Hawaii, Alaska, and Puerto Rico in 2 to 5 day delivery timeline, which I really love. But what about their customer service? That seems to be a hot spot that I saw in the survey too. Alicia, can you tell us about Schlage's customer service?
Yes, we have access to their 1-800 line that is reserved for national builder accounts and big commercial accounts. So not something any one company would have access to. And this is just premium support. You can get through to someone right away, and you're not chatting through customer service on their website trying to get answers and figure out what's going on.
Exactly. So while Yale and Kwikset and Home Control, some of these other companies have some very solid warranties and customer service, we find Schlage to be the top selling brand for property management because of that 3-year warranty and customer service through HostGPO and Schlage.
All right. So we've learned a little bit about locks. We're going to look at some specific examples in a minute. But just before we do that, we're going to talk about actually some of the software components, which is where Operto comes in to actually automate those locks and how that works and which benefits comes with. So I've seen that quite a few of the folks on the line here are Operto customers. So you may know a bit about this, but maybe you'll also find out something new. All right. So if you do implement smart locks, which basically means an internet connected lock, right? And you hook that up to Operto and you hook Operto up to your PMS, here are some of the benefits that you will immediately be able to take part of. Specifically on the guest side, there's some really obvious benefits here. Obviously, you get unique time-bound codes for every reservation, so you're not having to reuse any codes, no recycling of them, no risk that anyone is coming back in after reservation with the same code, or even accidentally staying beyond how long they're welcome. This will expire automatically and be refreshed on your lock without you having to do anything, which is nice compared to those traditional locks that Kit mentioned, where you're just typing in the code manually onto you know, and probably not changing it between every reservation. Same thing with lock boxes. You can also set up, you know, your own sorts of automations about when you're comfortable with releasing those codes. So if you have certain conditions that need to be met, let's say you need to do an ID verification or security deposit, or take any specific details for the HOA before you can release a code, you can obviously set up smart rules around that. Or even if you want to wait until closer to check-in time, all those sorts of rules would be compatible as well. Also important, obviously, because we have a unique code for each reservation, is that you get automatic updates to that code and the timing on the lock based on those bookings changing in the PMS. So if someone's extending their stay or if they're canceling, then we're going to make sure that that code is updated accordingly on the lock as well, including if it's canceled. Obviously, it never goes on in the first place. But it also gives you control over it manually. So if you have a guest that's, you know, if it's, I don't know what to say, questionable, but if there's any issues with the guest and it's not yet resolved, you can do things like temporarily revoking a code. So it comes off the lock right now, and then if the issue gets resolved, you can put it back on. It's going to be the same code. You don't have to worry about that. And in the meantime, you can ensure that the guest isn't getting into the unit, causing any trouble, anything like that. And obviously throughout this, you also have activity logs, notifications, so you know exactly what's going on in properties. A couple of other things that are possible as well, depending on the PMS, is that codes usually are pushed back to the PMS to be sent out from that messaging engine, so you don't have to have it sent from somewhere else. And we also have the ability with certain PMSs to send back a check-in status when the code is used for the first time. Again, this is driven by those activity logs that are coming in, because we always know what's happening with the locks and which guests are accessing them. We can actually push those statuses back to the PMS. All right, on the staff side, there's some benefits here as well. So each team member that needs access to your units will have their own unique code, and that code will work on all the doors that they are assigned to. So that's kind of got two really distinct benefits. A, it's easy for that team member because they just need to remember one code. And then B, it's really easy for the property manager to enable and disable these codes. So when you have a new person starting, you type in their name, you put which units they have access to, that's done. And similarly, when they leave the company, you obviously don't want someone to have a legacy code that they can run around and access all these different properties after they've left your employment. So a single click is going to remove that code from all the units that they previously had access to. Again, here, obviously being able to see where people come and go, especially if you have big organizations, lots of turnover, maybe external cleaners that you're not deeply engaged with, that you don't know very well, then it's really good to have those activity logs and just knowing who's been in and out. This helps both for kind of owner asset protection, but also with dead guest disputes. If they're saying something someone's been in or something's been stolen, all these sorts of things is really helpful when you can actually track who's been in and out. Some other cool things too, this extends to temporary codes for things like contractors, with kind of one-off codes. And you can also set up really detailed notifications. So for example, if a cleaner shows up following a stay, you can have that trigger a notification saying that the cleaning has started, because why else is the cleaner there? So you can get some of these operational insights, and even things like cleaning completed or maintenance completed can actually be updated just based on the lock activity if you're going kind of very lightweight on your housekeeping and maintenance tech stack, if you don't have dedicated software. Which is really useful as well. And then other alerts can be targeted by team member as well. So maybe maintenance needs notifications about battery alert, battery running low, and the guest relations teams want to know when people check in. So you can set who receives what type of notification as well. The other thing that we at Operto are really proud of is that we support tons of different access scenarios. So one thing that people have this like incredible aha moment with Operto is in multifamily buildings where people need to get through a front door of the building, a shared common door of the building. That's usually not controlled by the property manager. It's usually controlled by the HOA, or some form of management company of that building. And it's really hard to gain access to that. And what we can actually do is we can connect directly to the intercom of the building with no hardware additions. It's just basically when you normally would dial a cell phone, instead of the property manager having to pick up in the middle of the night to let people in, which happens a lot, we would instead take over that phone number and have it automatically let people in with the same 4-digit code on the intercom as they will then use when they get up to their actual unit in that building. So this is one of those like, oh, wait a minute, we could do this. I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night to let buzz people in anymore, and be this kind of really, really great eye opener. Same thing with all sorts of other bits of access. Nothing should be left to chance here. Ideally, we want to connect to all the different access points in any sort of access journey. So if it's an elevator, a gate, a garage, anything along those lines, we want to be connected to it and make sure that the same code is going to work across all those access points. Finally, additional access methods is also interesting. There are locks that support other types of access methods than just codes. So it could be RFID key cards, it could be mobile key, and we do also have recommendations for those as well. Some are kind of run by Operto, some are not, but we are actually the only company out there in this hospitality access space that does both mobile keys and PIN codes equally confidently across the board. So we serve huge big hotel brands like Accor Hotel, 6,000 hotels worldwide, down to individual hosts, right? So we run the gamut of every single access scenario that you may need. Come chat. Okay, we're almost done. This monologue is going to be broken up shortly, I promise. So when you pick an access partner, just some quick things to look for. One thing is thinking about, you need someone who works with maybe some locks that you have, some locks that your new owners are coming with, current owners already have in place. Maybe you're moving from a current company that isn't serving you very well. You will want to have flexible compatibility. So you want to make sure that the company you are choosing to work with for access can actually work with the locks that you have or intend to buy. So make sure you check on that, obviously. And then obviously making sure that there are solutions for every scenario that you're coming up with. So there's tons of access automation companies in vacation rentals who support individual single family unit doors, but then all these other scenarios get forgotten about. And then if you can't support every door, what's the point of having an automation provider that only provides part automation? So make sure you kind of run through all your scenarios, and then also make sure that the company you choose has expertise and support and can provide really firm recommendations. Because one thing that we see is that people don't know anything about smart locks or any of this access, electronic access control, intercoms, all sorts of crazy stuff. Like, you're not expected to know about this, but you have to deal with a company that does. One thing that I get a lot of crap from my colleagues about is I actually refuse to issue a compatibility list of our locks. And it kind of drives our customers a little bit crazy too, but I promise it actually has a good reason. I want to actively recommend locks that will be good for your specific units, rather than giving you 300 locks that we work with and say, off you go and Google these or type them into ChatGPT. They're going to know nothing. I see so many articles online that recommend terrible smart locks and has absolutely no nuance in their recommendations. So come and chat with us instead. And then once you're online, you'll get support when you have issues. Okay. So if you are stuck with old locks that aren't smart and need to change, there are some benefits to that. But obviously, we've seen through our polls here that that's not the case. So we actually don't really need to run through these. But if you are watching this recording, pause for a second, read through these. They're pretty self-explanatory. All right. If you are evaluating new smart locks, then there's a bunch of different factors to consider here. The main one really is to think about your current lock type. You want to make sure you're matching your current lock type so you don't have to prep or drill out your doors for new locks that wouldn't fit. So a great example of that is if I sent you a massive list of compatible locks, you might see the two on the screen right there. That's a Yale Doorman and a Yale Linus, which look really nice. And it's like, oh, I might be quite interested in those. You went and search for them. It's like, oh, they look good. I'm going to buy those. Those are European locks. They wouldn't actually fit your doors. And even within Europe, the Doorman on the left looks lovely. It actually works here in Sweden. It's a Scandinavian lock, would not work in Spain or the UK. So it's important to think about the current locks you have in the door. Make sure you're matching that style. So usually a deadbolt or a lever. In America, pretty easy. Might be a mortise lock. but it's not kind of rocket science. Then thinking about brand, it might just be preferred brand, as Kit and Alicia mentioned before, around maybe do you have a preference based on prior experience or support or warranties, to really think about that. It's usually not the brand itself, but it's the connotations that you have with it in a way. Keyed versus non-keyed locks, we always recommend a key override, because if there is a mechanical or issue with the locks, then you want to make sure that you can actually just use a key and get in anyway. Touchscreen versus push button, always push button, because touchscreens need to be woken up somehow. That is one, but for the record, my one gripe with Slage is that the screens need to be woken. That press actually counts as a key press, which is quite frustrating. Versus if you just have push buttons, then you don't need to wake the screen, you just start typing straight into it. Connectivity options, so many different connectivity options here. There's also one I want to discuss. The easiest one is usually to have Wi-Fi built into the lock, but it drains battery much quicker, so there's a bit of a trade-off there. You also have no control over how you kind of extend the range to it. So you may have to put in like Wi-Fi repeaters to make that work really well, versus if you have an external hub or gateway to that lock, then you can play around with it a bit more. Local regulations, this plays in a little bit more in multifamily hotels, but there can be regulations that are pretty strict on what sort of locks you need to have in your doors. But there are also general regulations that the state to state, region to region are very, very different. So this one is an important one to look out for. So like Florida and Texas have completely different rules. One requires levers, one deadbolts, etc. So it can be quite conflicting. So look into if there's anything specific locally where you are. In terms of features, this is going to be pretty standard across locks, to be honest. But if you do have very specific needs, so for example, if you are running a small hotel and you absolutely need key card support, then that's going to be a fairly small portion of locks that actually support that alongside PIN codes. So make sure you kind of bring those requirements up. Available options and consistency. This one for me is interesting because it's very hard to actually pick one lock manufacturer who's going to have locks for every single scenario that you need. It's almost impossible. Slage is actually a good example because they provide both lever locks and deadbolts, which is great, but they don't have a mortise lock. So it's really hard to pick one. So it's almost like you need to have a go-to lock, and then you accept that you need some other ones at the times, and it's going to be a little bit of a headache to know, but come and ask us. Obviously, availability makes a big difference as well. And if you care about things like visual consistency between units, then this plays in a little bit more as well. Finally, durability and weather resistance. All modern locks have good weather resistance. So it's not really such a big issue. If you have very extreme situations of being near the coast, if you're right on the shore or something like that, you may actually want to look at a marine grade lock, such as the Yale Pro 2, which we'll look at in a second. And durability, again, all modern locks are going to be pretty similar. So it more comes down to a warranty question than the actual durability of the lock, but it's important to keep in mind. Lots of considerations there. So this is what I'm saying. Don't just go looking for block recommendations on Google. It's not going to give you a whole lot of nuance on these points. All right. If you want to do a little bit of shortcut on this, you can download our essential vacation checklist, vacation rental checklist, and learn way more about this. Or you can even go one step deeper than that and get our access control systems guide, which is going to specifically talk about access, get real nerdy about these sorts of things. All right, Kit, we have a poll for you.
Fantastic. All right, poll number 3 is, where do you currently shop for your locks? Is it direct from a vendor, Amazon, a local hardware store, that could also be Walmart, Target, any of those locations, Home Depot, Lowe's, or a specialty online retailer? I'll give you a moment to answer that. And while you're doing that, that previous QR code on the Essential Vacation Checklist is a full checklist that's curated room by room of what are the absolute essentials that you have to have for a property once you're getting started. Sometimes we forget those little things, like a full-length mirror. I don't know any female on the face of the earth that does not want a full-length mirror in a vacation rental. All right, the number 1 answer for purchasing locks is Amazon, followed by your local hardware store. All right, so we're going to kick this next slide over to Alicia then and talk about some of the top selling locks and why it's beneficial to purchase through HostGPO versus Amazon.
Yes, I will start with my personal expertise on why it's better to purchase through HostGPO and not Amazon. And the main reason being, we know that the prices are not fluctuating. So our pricing is contracted through each of these vendors. So this lock is not going to be $215 today and $295 tomorrow. So that's incredibly important when forecasting and just making sure you're falling within your budget when setting up a new property. The Yale Pro 2 lock, this is our top selling lock through Yale. Just actually bought this for my mom's Airbnb the other day. Great for being on the water, so that it's not going to rust or not function as well with that salt air. And I can kind of let Axel share any additional benefits on it.
Yeah, what's cool about this, in addition to kind of the physical aspects, coastal rated and fire rated, which is extraordinarily rare, by the way, in residential grade locks. This is all residential, goes in single family homes or some multifamily, but very, very rare. So if there are requirements for that, this is almost becomes like what your only option. Smart home and remote access just means that it's going to be connected to the internet. You can hook it up to lights and whatnot, but that stuff is almost honestly less impactful than hooking it up to an automation engine like Operto. What is important is that you have a variety of connectivity options and features here. So you can choose if you want, let's say, a keyed lock or a non-keyed lock, if you want touchscreen or push button that we talked about before. And you can also choose your connectivity option here. So we talked about having built-in Wi-Fi, which is super convenient. But these ones actually, without paying anything extra, they come with a free Wi-Fi bridge. So it can externalize the Wi-Fi connection from the lock, which saves on battery and makes it easier to actually get stable Wi-Fi connection, which means that you can order it, try it on Wi-Fi. If it's giving you trouble, plug the gateway in and you've not lost nothing. You can actually have best of both worlds, which is great. One downside here, we talked about consistency before, these guys don't currently make a lever option in the Yale Pro series. They have one in their Yale Assure standard series. They actually look really similar, so it's no big deal, but it's not going to be the exact same lock. So that's important to note on this one, although hardly a deal breaker. Alicia, next one.
Yes. So Wish Lake, again, we talked about them at the beginning. They have great warranty. Their shipping is free through us. So that's a great benefit as well. So you're getting that free shipping like you would on Amazon, but actually getting a better price than you would through Amazon. They have that 3-year warranty, which is great. And again, the preferred customer service line. So any install problems or just problems getting things set up or post order, they're able to support you for that. And then Axel will let you take it away with specifics about it.
Totally. So feature-wise, you're looking at pretty much the same thing here. As I said, most modern smart locks are pretty equivalent when it comes to actual features. So yeah, it's going to integrate with your smart home. If you like it to remote access, you can go and program codes on it from your phone or whatever. All this sort of stuff. No doubt there. But the really useful thing is you do have a lever and a deadbolt option here from Slage. So that's great. Now, my one gripe, as I mentioned, is the screen. It's not quite as intuitive as just push buttons. So what I would recommend if you're going for Slage, and if you love them, go for it for sure. Maybe just put the video somewhere in your instructions on how to use it. I know it seems dead easy when you do it, when you're used to using these, but then you have guests showing up who never used a smart lock before, and they might just need a few step-by-step instructions on how to use this. All right, then we have one final top-selling lock here, Alicia, Igloo.
Yes, our partnership through Igloo, so all of their locks are going to be delivered within 2 to 5 days, and it is free shipping for the lower 48 states, and then $30 to Hawaii, $35 to Alaska, which is a very aggressive shipping price to those states. A lot of people are used to paying like 50 to 75% of the product price for shipping to Hawaii, which is crazy, but people pay it. So they are a great option, and then they have a 1-year warranty on their locks as well. And Axel?
Okay, so Igloo is really unique in that they actually are not technically online locks unless you add the Wi-Fi gateway, which is a little bit outside of the point of it. What you can actually do is you can have unique guest codes without being connected to the Wi-Fi or the internet in any way. So you can throw these on like a remote cabin in the middle of the woods and still get unique codes. It happens through something called algorithmic codes, which we can spend 15 minutes talking about at some other time. But it is really cool for those properties that aren't going to have any internet connection for whatever reason, or if it's really unstable. What it unfortunately means is that you can't be really flexible in syncing codes and revoking codes and all these sorts of things that we talked about before. So it does lack some of those management capabilities of remote activity logs and team member codes and those sorts of things. But the core capability of unique access codes is there. And the other really useful thing about Igloo Home is that they have tons of different lock models. So unlike the other two that we just talked about, which are limited to deadbolts and levers, these guys have every single lock model you can imagine, including things like padlocks and smart lock boxes. So if you still need lock boxes for some funky, weird doors that have an old ancient key or something, you can actually put a smart lock box from Igloo Home, and that's going to give you unique access codes on the lockbox. So you can actually have kind of the best of both worlds, which is pretty interesting about these guys. All right, we're coming to the end here. Just one quick note as you're thinking about smart locks. The single biggest challenge that we see with people deploying smart locks is that they haven't made sure that their connectivity, their internet, their Wi-Fi is stable before they do. So smart locks don't require a lot of speed or bandwidth or anything like that, but they do require stability, because if they keep going offline, then they use more battery trying to get back online. And if we're trying to shoot a code onto the lock and it's offline, then we're going to be like, okay, we'll wait a little bit, try again. We'll keep trying, and we install them way in advance. It's usually no problem. However, if this keeps being a thing where we have to wait for codes and it's not as instant and as responsive as you would expect it to be, and especially if you have things like last minute bookings and these locks keep being offline, this can be a real problem. So just make sure your internet is good. You can even kind of stand by your door and make sure that your phone is connecting easily. If you are getting reports of Wi-Fi issues by your guests, then that's something to address regardless, but it's almost certainly going to influence your locks as much as it's going to influence your guests. And then one quick tip too, just technical, they run on 2.4 gigahertz, which a lot of people forget. So if you have a router that lets you split your bands or your network, or have a specific IoT network even, most routers do let you do that. That's really recommended to just make sure that you can lock those locks into a 2.4 gigahertz network. All right. Some key takeaways. Great. I didn't write these. Smart locks have their own benefits. Yes, we know that. But think wisely who you partner with, and what you actually are looking for. Are you looking for recommendations? Are you just looking for super simple operations? Lots of PMSs have access modules built in now. That's great. They're going to program codes, but they're not going to go and give you any recommendations for support. Access automation, again, goes beyond the simple locks. It can be things like intercoms. It can be things like gates or elevators, but also think about the other things around notifications, security benefits from actually knowing who's in and out and revoking codes and member codes, all that sort of stuff. Strong network connection is key. And then obviously having that portfolio of locks that you can choose when you're deploying to properties. Alicia, what would you recommend? Having locks on hand or buying them as you go? How do you think about this operationally?
Always having them on hand. I mean, it depends on the size of your business. Of course, if you don't expect to add a new property for 6 months, then maybe you don't need to have 3 locks sitting around waiting to go. But if you're looking to grow and scale your business, you always want to have extras because you sign a new property and you want to have everything set up and ready to go as fast as you can. And we work closely with our vendors to make sure things are in stock, but unfortunately back orders happen. So just allowing yourself to have that time to use what you have on hand and then restock after you've gone through your supply.
That makes a lot of sense. And to that point, here's another poll.
How many locks do you typically purchase at a time? 1, 2 to 3, or 7 or more? We'll give you just a moment to answer that, and then we'll talk about some of the benefits. Okay, it looks like we're fairly split between 1 and 2 to 3 locks at a time. Okay, so where I want to really go with this is when you're looking at lock pricing, to what Alicia spoke to a little bit earlier, is price consistency. While you may not take into consideration that you purchased a lock on Amazon or even your local hardware store for a certain price, those prices can and will fluctuate based on inventory levels. If somebody is running a sale, if they have inventory that they're trying to close out, maybe they're a reseller, and you cannot rely on consistency. When we negotiate our partnerships with each one of our vendors, we specifically negotiate pricing with them so that we can ensure that it doesn't fluctuate for you. So we try to lock them in for as long as possible. Generally, it's at least a year and sometimes up to 3 years that we have those contracts with our partners completely locked in. So you're getting the same price every single time. It may not seem like a lot when you're paying maybe $40 or $50 more per lock when you maybe purchased it on sale previously, but it does matter. That all goes down to your bottom line. And so any way that you can maintain consistency, pricing does matter. Alicia, anything you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, I would say, just one of the best reasons of being a part of a GPO too is that these are pre-negotiated discounts. So if you're buying one lock, it's going to be the same price as if you're buying 20. So you don't feel like you have to be ordering in bulk to save a couple dollars. So our pricing is already incredibly aggressive. And again, you're not having to order 200 locks to get an extra 3% off. You're getting the best price whether you're ordering one or 50 of them.
And I can actually certify that too. We've sold locks for years. We're not a hardware company. We actually don't want to sell locks, but we also automate smart locks. So we started selling them just to make it easier for our clients. We never made any money off of selling locks. And still, the host GPO prices are better than what we were ever able to offer. So it's actually taken a huge burden off of us. We don't have to deal with it anymore. You can send everyone to host GPO, everyone wins. You get better prices. So, thanks, guys. Appreciate that. All right, we're almost done here. So just to wrap up, you are able to enjoy a nice little discount as a new member to Operto by scanning the QR code here. Yeah, it's going to give you a bit of a discount if you're new to Operto, so that's fine. And equally, HostGPO, Kit.
I'm actually going to have Alicia take this one of the benefits of joining HostGPO.
Yeah. So, we'll have a custom member portal set up with Operto that will have all of your Operto locks. So you don't have to worry about searching the item number on Amazon, making sure you're buying the right specific lock. You know that when you're shopping through our member portal, you are buying one that syncs with Operto. So that's great. It makes it really easy. You're getting the best prices. You don't have to try and search all of the different part numbers and see what it is on Best Buy or Lowe's or Amazon. No one has time for that. And then you can also join HostGPO and start on a 3-month free trial. After that, it's $120 per year. So if you buy one sofa from us, you're going to save $400. So really pays for itself right away, but you have that 3 months just to make sure we're a good fit for you. But again, as Kit touched on in the beginning, we are only partnering with brands that we know are a good fit in the short-term rental space. So you'll never find an IKEA with discounts through us. These are all going to be brands that hold up, are tried and true, and are meant to withstand the wear and tear of short-term rentals. So we're experts
Alicia,
in
I'm Swedish. I take this personally.
No, I have some IKEA stuff personally, but you know, in your short-term rental. Also, no one has time to do all the assembly. Those directions are tough to follow.
That's fair.
Maybe you can read them better since you are Swedish, so I don't know.
Maybe that's it. All right, that sounds great. All right, I think we're pretty much done here. We do have some questions to cover out here as we wrap up. I really like Toby's question here about encode locks. He says, can anyone speak about the encode plus and why it would be better for short-term rentals as compared to the standard encode lock? It actually wouldn't. The only difference between encode and encode plus is that it supports the Apple ecosystem, things like HomeKit and unlocking with your watch and stuff like that, which you don't really need in a short-term rental anyway. You're not going to invite someone to like a home key type app or anything like that. For those purposes, you just need the pin codes to work. So it's going to work just fine, but there's no reason to spend extra money on a encode plus over a standard encode. Alicia, do you want to take pricing differences?
Yes. Between each of these options, they really range. Typically through our discount, they're in like the high 190s through like 275. It just depends on the lock and the functionality you need. I would be less focused on what the price is since you are getting really aggressive pricing and more focusing on the functionality and what you need the lock to serve you. So again, to Axel's point of not just sending a list of recommended products, definitely go through it and make sure that you're choosing the right one because it's a lot more expensive to go back when you have 50 properties and update all 50 locks. So take the time to figure out the right option for you. But the price differences aren't huge. You know, it's not jumping up $500 between each lock type.
Totally. And I don't think I mentioned this before too, but if you do end up with lots of different types of locks, obviously let's offer like Operto, you can mix and match it. So you don't really have to worry about having different ones, but still set your go-to one. Okay, I'm going to take the last one, which is what are the biggest security risks with keys and lock boxes? And there are a few. The biggest risk is that people walk away with the key. And that's honestly, you know, it is a risk that someone comes back and that they actually access it properly illicitly afterwards. However, the bigger risk with that is actually an operational interruption, right? Because you've actually just lost the key and maybe that was the key for the next guest. So yeah, the housekeeper had their own key, they were able to get in, but now maybe either they didn't check the lockbox or if they did, they now need to leave their own key and they don't have the key for when they come back and we still need to rekey the place. It's just a pain, especially if someone walks away with it by mistake or not. Often you have to put in place, policies for charging guests if they walk away with a key, which this sounds very guest unfriendly if they're being threatened even before they, before they show up. It's like, oh, if you walk away with a key, you're going to charge $100. So it's a guest experience thing as well as a security issue. Of course, it's also easier to just break into a lockbox and take it. Breaking it, either just smashing it or that you know the code, because again, 95 or 99% of lockboxes are not smart. They're not changing codes. At best, property managers are changing them monthly, much more likely maybe yearly. So that's risky there. And then the other side is you have no insight into who's been in and out. Like you could have people just coming and going in your properties. You would have no idea, even if that's cleaner's cousin or whoever it might be. It's really hard to know. Finally, it's just not fun if you arrive on a cold night as a guest and you're down there like messing around with the lockbox, trying to turn the little dials, and it's just not a good guest experience. So it's a worthwhile upgrade for sure. Any additional thoughts on that, kids?
I think it covered it all extremely well. I worked for one of the largest property management companies in the United States for about 10 years, and I'll never forget moving from the lock boxes and keys to smart locks, and it was life-changing for our operations team. So I highly recommend doing away with them if you possibly can, because in the end, they really, truly are not a great guest experience.
Life-changing. Love that. All right. I think we're done. Feel free to send us any questions. We've got an email there on the slide. Mine is axel@operto.com. Feel free to email me, or we have a bunch of sales at Operto emails as well that you can get in touch. We also do have the resources and QR codes shared alongside the recording to all the participants here and everyone who signed up. So you're not going to be missing anything. You can go and check out all the resources that we shared today. And yeah, if you have any questions to us, feel free to reach out. Any final words, Kit, Alicia?
Thank you so much for just the opportunity and joining you. And we're very excited about this partnership with Operto. And here to answer any questions, reach out to us at members@hostgpo.com, and our team will connect with you and help you get set up.
Please do. All right. Thanks so much, folks. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.